Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing my May reading recap. Now May was my worst month yet in terms of reading. I only read 5 books and I was just in a slump. Like I couldn't find anything that would grab my attention. Everything was it just felt so monotonous and I was just like, I cannot bring myself to want to read any of this. That being said, I did find one 5-star read, so I feel like that's pretty good. And I did read 2 physical books, so we're going to go through everything that I read, and then hopefully June is going to be much better in terms of finding books and wanting to actually read, so fingers crossed. The first book I have here is called The Last Animal, and this one, the little baby mammoth on the front is what got me. I was actually targeted with, well not targeted, I signed up for it, the Barnes & Noble emails, their promotional emails, and it had this in it, and I was like, I have to have that. Like, that is the cutest book cover in the entire world. So that is why I bought it. I did end up giving this one 3 stars. It was a little boring, I guess. There were some things in the book that I enjoyed, and a lot of things I was just kind of like, I honestly think this is what put me into a slump, and I don't know, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't my favorite, and it's not what I typically read. It was sweet, it's definitely literary fiction, there's not a romance, there's nothing like that. It's not super emotional until the very end, and then it did get me. It's about a mom who has 2 daughters. She recently lost her husband, and she is working in a field where it's male dominated. So she essentially is trying to bring back the woolly mammoth from extinction, and you kind of follow that storyline. And honestly, there are a lot of things that happen in this book that you're like, what the, why is this happening? What does this have to do with the story? What is this adding to the overall plot? Like I don't know. The sister dynamic is sweet at times, and the mother-daughter dynamic is sweet. There's talk of grief in this book. I don't know. I felt like when I was done reading it, I was kind of confused. It's just odd. Reading about this little mammoth guy and just picturing this was adorable, but like, this was just an odd book for me. Moving past that, then I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I read this one on my Kindle, and this was my 5-star read of the month. I loved this book so much. So if you have not read any other Carly Fortune books, she wrote Every Summer After and Meet Me at the Lake. I have read Every Summer After, and it was in my like recommendations for summer reads, and I really love her writing style. I have not read Meet Me at the Lake, so I'm gonna go back and read that, but this one is just perfection. It gives you all the coastal kind of summery vibes, which just put me in like the best mood. The romance in this book is like top notch. Felix, who is our main love interest, he is like a rugged James Dean. That's what I picture in my mind. I'm not wearing my engagement ring. Should I go get it? I'm gonna go get it. I felt naked. And I really related to the main character, Lucy. And although I loved all of those things, the romance, the 2 main characters independently, my favorite thing about this book was the best friend love story that they tell. And it is just like, it made me so emotional. You guys, if you've watched my last video, this is the book I talked about, and I like got choked up and was like crying over my own best friend. So I loved this. It was so beautiful, so touching. You're getting multiple timelines, so you're going from the past and then you'll go to the present, and then it eventually takes you to the present from your... Am I making sense? No, I'm not. So essentially it'll take you from like 7 years ago, and then you'll flip to the future occasionally, but then at the past it slowly works towards the future. So you're getting kind of the whole story throughout the book. I hope that makes sense, because that honestly doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. And the romance is like the forbidden best friend's little brother vibe. It's just super cute. I liked it a lot. Love the main characters. 5-star read. Just gave me the feels. Next book I have is Done and Dusted, and I have not read a good floppy paperback since I read ACOTAR, which was in March, I think, or maybe it was last month. I don't remember. But it just felt good to have like a good paperback that I could do one of these with. We crack spines around here, and I don't give a shit. If you don't like it, like, come on. So this is about Emmy and Luke, and this also, we have kind of a theme going here. This is like a forbidden kind of love story. So it is her, not her best friend's little brother, it is her brother's best friend. Am I saying that right? I'm like confusing myself. So Emmy is falling for her brother's best friend, yes, and someone she's known like her whole life, and that is Luke Brooks. And this book was very spicy, very, very spicy, very like heavy on the dirty talk, very vulgar. Not saying that in a bad way, just giving you a little bit of a warning. He calls her sugar, which I think is supposed to get you like the PQs. If you know, you know. Sugar doesn't do it for me. Sugar's weird. Like, I don't like it. And I love a good cowboy romance. Like, I will dive head first into a cowboy romance. Chestnut Springs, sign me up. Sugar, I don't like it. I couldn't picture it in my head. And it doesn't like flow the way other pet names do. Like, I can't see someone casually calling me or anyone else sugar. Like, that's just, it's fucking weird. I don't like it. However, I did overall like this book. I gave it a 3. I would float between like a 3, 3.5. My favorite thing about this story though was definitely Emmy's best friend Teddy has so much tension with her brother Gus that it's like palpable, and they are not the second book, which is Swift and Saddled, which I think I'll probably read, but they are the third book that I think comes out later this year. So I'm excited to read that. But the sugar, it really got me. It threw me for a loop. The next book I read, and I didn't count this in my like 5 books because I actually DNF'd it and counted it before because I got so far into it and DNF'd it. So I ended up finishing it this month, so I'm not counting it as another book because I already counted it previously. That is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. This one I ended up giving a 3.25 star. I ended up really liking it. It definitely captured my attention the second time around, and I think I read it at the perfect time because I actually picked this one up right after I finished Bridgerton season 3. So I was already like in the Regency kind of mood, and it hit a lot harder than it did when I tried to read this in March. So this is about 2 girls who are trying to find husbands. They're like entering the, what do they call it? Entering society where they can now be married. They're trying to find husbands. And there's Beth and there's Gwen. There we go. There's Beth and there's Gwen, and she's been in society for a while. She's, you know, been through a few seasons of this, and she's just not interested. Like, she does what she wants. Her and her dad are super close, and she doesn't really behave the way the husbands want her to behave, I guess. Like, whatever. So I love her. We love her. And then you have Beth, and she's entering for the first time, and she doesn't really have any friends, and she has a lot of pressure on her. Sorry, I have like hair in my mouth. There's a lot of pressure on her from her mom and from society, of course, but especially her mom because they are going to run out of money when the season is over. So if they do not find someone for her to marry, then they will not have anywhere to live. So Beth is really trying to find somebody, but she also is just like not a huge fan of this whole system, so she's struggling. Like I said, she doesn't have a lot of friends. In comes Gwen, they become friends, and then they become more than friends, and it is such a cute story. There's also like a parent trap aspect of it. So Gwen's dad, Beth's mom, used to date, and now they're trying to get them back together. So there's like a parent trap kind of thing where they're setting them up and pushing them together. But there's so much back and forth in this book. The one thing that was really confusing to me was that the spice, you get a really spicy scene in kind of like the beginning to middle area, and then you never get another full-blown spicy scene again, even once people are like together. It's really odd to me. Like, I feel like I was on the edge of my seat, like waiting, like, all right, where is it? And it just never came. Literally, that's what she said. If you're only gonna do spice once in a book, do like a fireworks, big finale type of thing. Don't give it to me in the beginning and then be like, peace out. I don't like that. There is a sequel to this. I'll probably read it eventually, but I'm not like dying to just because it took me so long to actually finish this one. Okay, second to last book is The Castaways by Ellen Hildebrand, and this I gave a 3-star. Little bit of a backstory. This was on my TBR for May, as was the one that came before it, which I believe is called A Perfect Couple or A Summer Affair, maybe? I think it's A Summer Affair, and then A Perfect Couple comes after Castaways. Anyway, everything is in Ellen Hildebrand's Nantucket series. Now, this is a series that she is finishing this year on June 9th, I believe? June 11th. June 11th, she's coming out with Swan Song, which is the last book in her little Nantucket series. So, I didn't realize that it was part of a series, so I wanted to go back and read it. That way I was ready to go for when her new book came out. Now, I tried to read the first one in the series, and I DNF'd it. I could not get on board. I was not about it. I got a decent way through and I just wasn't feeling it. So we DNF'd that, and honestly it was kind of a standalone in the sense that I don't know that it really related much to the second one and the third one, and then I think the fourth one that's coming out. I don't know. What you need to know is I read The Castaways and I skipped the first one in the story, and I'm gonna move on to the third one. You also need to know why I gave The Castaways 3 stars. This reminded me a lot, if I had to compare it to another one of her books that I've read, it reminds me of 5 Star Weekend, because it's just a lot of different POVs and you're just spilling tea in all of them. Even more so from 5 Star Weekend, where that had a solid through line, like they all were there for a specific reason. There was a beginning and there was an end, and everything that happened within this time frame, like it all, I don't know, there was something kind of corralling it all together. This one, there is an event that's corralling things together, but at the same time, there's not like a beginning, middle, end. You're jumping all over timelines. You're following 8 different people. Well, I guess 6, but also 2 other, like, it literally felt like I was reading a book of the Real Housewives of Nantucket. It was just spilling tea. It was a perfect like brain rot book where you just want to escape reality and you're like, ooh, let me read about these people who are just like dealing with a lot of fucked up stuff. Great for that. It wasn't a Blue Bistro. It wasn't a Golden Girl. It was just like, I don't know. I didn't really connect to any of the characters. I didn't really like love it or even really like any of them. The chief, I guess, maybe a little bit, but, and I understood each of them, I guess, but I just felt so detached. And usually with Ellen Hildebrand characters, I can see myself in every single one of them, or at least like heavily empathize with them. This one, not so much. And then the last book that I have for you, and hopefully this hair will stay out of my eyes. Last book I have for you is another one that I unintentionally DNF'd because Libby took it off of my Kindle, was Crazy Stupid Bromance by Alyssa K. Adams. This one I finished this morning and I'm floating between like a 3.25 and a 3.5. This series is so cheesy, but it's the perfect like brain rot, get away from reality type of thing. It's an interesting premise. It makes you laugh out loud. It's just like ridiculous, but in the best way. There's spice. And this book in particular follows Noah and Alexis. And I did really like their story. It was hard. I think if I would have read it all together, if I would have read it in time and or not accidentally turned my Kindle off of airplane mode, I think I probably would have rated it a little higher because I was super into it when I was reading it. When I jumped back in, I was 64% of the way through the book already, and I was just kind of like, you know, trying to get my bearings, jumping back into the story after I'd been removed for like weeks and weeks. I did like Alexis's story. Noah is very like sweet and loving, and he's like golden retriever, but then like deep down has some black cat stuff that he doesn't want to acknowledge. He's got a lot of anger that he doesn't really realize he's holding on to. And then Alexis is just a badass. She's providing a safe space for sexual assault survivors in her cafe that she owns, and it's really beautiful. She's just like such a loving, caring person, and them together, they were like best friends, and then it became, you know, friends to lovers. And of course, all of these books have some sort of third act breakup. They always do. They always have something thrown in there where the guy has to like where they have to come back together and figure their shit out. And this one I did enjoy the fact that she brought more of the book club to the forefront of the actual story, because in the second one, which was Undercover Bromance, that was Mac and Liv's story, the book club was like nowhere to be found. Like, the book club took a back seat, like was in a different car. We barely talked about it, which made no sense to me because that's what the whole series was based off of. So this one brings it back up, which I did enjoy, but I think now saying that and having read the first 3 in the series, I think that my favorite is actually Undercover Bromance, because I love Mac so much. He just like has been my favorite character in this entire thing. And the guys are super prevalent in this book, as they always are, Bromance Book Club, duh. But I do wish that the women were more present here, because Alexis is friends with Liv, and Liv is sisters with Thea, I think her name is. I wish that they were more heavily involved with the storylines in the consecutive books. So, okay guys, this was the shortest reading recap that I've done so far on my channel. So, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm hoping June is a better reading month for me. May was just difficult. So, fingers crossed. Let me know if you have read any of these books or what you read during the month of May. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me. All my social medias are linked down below, and I will see you guys next time.